I always thought I had the perfect life. A loving wife, a quiet home, and plans for a future that felt so real. Alice and I had been together for almost 6 years. We were that couple people looked at and said, "That's what real love looks like." And I believed it. I really did. Back then, everything felt simple. We laughed easily, talked for hours about nothing, and fell asleep knowing the other person was right there. It never crossed my mind that something so solid could slowly fall apart without either of us noticing. When we decided to have a baby, it felt like the next natural step. We were ready, financially stable, emotionally connected, and certain that this was what we wanted. At first, it even felt exciting. We laughed, picked out names, imagined what our child would look like, whose eyes they would have, whose smile. Those nights felt warm, full of hope and quiet happiness. But after a few months, the laughter faded. Every new month brought the same thing: disappointment that we tried to hide behind forced smiles. Alice would say, "It's okay. It just takes time." And I would nod, pretending I believed her. But her voice changed. It lost that certainty, that lightness. After a year, we finally went to see doctors. Tests, checkups, endless waiting, sitting in sterile rooms, trying not to overthink every possible outcome. And then the answer came back, the one we didn't expect. Everything looks fine. No clear problem. No explanation. Just keep trying. But how do you keep trying when every failure feels heavier than the last? We started searching for answers in ourselves. I buried myself in work, staying late, volunteering for extra shifts, anything to avoid coming home and facing that silent question hanging in the air. Alice went the opposite way. She buried herself in research, reading everything she could find, joining forums, talking to specialists, chasing every possible solution. We didn't fight. Not really, but silence grew between us. The kind of silence that feels louder than any argument. The kind where you sit next to each other but feel miles apart. We stopped sharing the small things, stopped laughing the way we used to. And slowly, without saying it out loud, we both started to feel like something was slipping away. That's when Artyom started coming around more. My best friend. We had known each other for years, and he had always been someone I trusted completely. He showed up with food, with jokes, with distractions. He supported me when I was falling apart, and somehow he always found time to help Alice too. At the time, it felt like a blessing. Like we weren't alone in this anymore. Looking back now, I realize he was there a lot. More than I noticed. Sometimes he would stop by when I wasn't even home. Alice would mention it casually like it was nothing. And I never questioned it. Why would I? He was my best friend. She was my wife. Trust wasn't something I thought about. It was just there. After all those years, after all the waiting, the disappointment, the doubt, her eyes were full of hope again, brighter. I didn't even know how to react at first. I just stared at it. I didn't have the heart to say no. It was real. Even though something inside me had already started to doubt that anything would change, but relief. The process was exhausting. I held her, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like we were us again. But she stayed strong, like everything we had lost was suddenly back. Like I just went through the motions, something impossible, pretending to believe. I changed after pretending to be the husband she needed. I started escaping, hiding. I became present. I went with her to my appointments, listened, into anything that could distract me from the feeling that I was failing all along. Failing us. We started rebuilding everything. Nights became longer. Conversations became shorter. Even more than before. We kept going, helping, and then showing up. Everything always changed. At the right time. She became different. At first I was grateful, but somehow lighter. It felt like we had someone we could rely on. A secret she didn't want to scare away. Someone who genuinely cared. One evening she said, when she suggested making him the godfather, I didn't hesitate. I felt my heart drop. It felt right. I didn't know what to expect. He was basically family. She handed me the test. And seeing how involved he already was, in that moment, it just everything stopped. He laughed when we told him, made a joke about finally getting promoted in life. Everything felt good again. But now looking back, there were things I ignored. Small details that didn't seem important at the time. The way Alice sometimes avoided eye contact when his name came up. The way he seemed to know things before I told him. The way he would show up at exactly the right moment. Almost like he already knew when we needed him. I told myself it was nothing, that I was overthinking, that after everything we'd been through I should just be grateful. And so I pushed those thoughts away. Months passed. The pregnancy went smoothly. We started preparing the house, buying clothes, setting up the nursery. It felt real. Finally real. Like all the pain had led to something beautiful. And when the day finally came, When I held my son in my arms for the first time, nothing else mattered. He was perfect. Small, fragile, real. I looked at Alice, exhausted but smiling, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. We named him Daniel, and from that moment on he became the center of our world. Sleepless nights, quiet mornings, everything revolved around him, and strangely, Artyom was still there, always around, always helping, sometimes more than I expected. At first I told myself it was normal, that this is what friends do, that this is what family looks like, but deep down, something didn't sit right anymore, and the more I tried to ignore it, the louder that feeling became, because some things were just too perfect, too well timed, too easy after years of nothing, and eventually one thought started to creep into my mind. Quiet at first, then louder. A question I didn't want to ask. A question I was afraid of answering. Whose child was it, really?